Hello everyone. This will be the first video in a series that I'm going to make documenting some cursed objects that I possess. I've realized recently that as my collection has grown, it's probably tremendously irresponsible of me to possess all of these without any form of documentation or sort of insight into them, being that if anything were to happen to me, these objects may fall into the hands of someone wholly unprepared to deal with them. So the first couple of objects would just be some initial assessments, as I haven't possessed these first few for very long. And then some later objects, we may go over some more extensive details regarding containment and things like that. So yeah, we're going to begin. In truth, a lot of these objects aren't actually cursed. It's just a catchy title. Curse, at least in my industry, has a much more specific connotation, and that's not what these are. Some of them are. So, you know, a curse is an object that's sort of maliciously been affected by someone with with malicious intent. A lot of objects I possess, there was no malicious intent behind it, but for whatever reason they've become sort of imbued with some sort of quality that is in some way deleterious to the living. Anyway, so this is our first object. I've taken precautions in the form of gloves while I'm handling it. It is a Kalimba, I believe. I think they're often called a finger piano. I'm just going to go over a bit of a description of the object, just so that it's on record. A lot of these objects will eventually be placed into sealed containers that are opaque. So this recording may be the only possible way that people can see what it is, and should the video not be sufficient, I will verbally confirm what I'm saying. So it is a Kalimba. It appears to be made out of some sort of half coconut shell. You can see on the back there that's been polished to a high sheen. There are some tines, 3, 6, 7 tines across the front, and what looks to be carvings of, I think, geckos or some sort of lizard on the front. There is also a hole underneath the tines, goes into the void of the coconut shell. It is somewhere in the area of 120 millimeters across and some 60 millimeters deep. I'll give you the length of the tines as well while I'm here. 76, 77 on the longest tine, and 60 on the shortest. That should be sufficient for you to extrapolate the other lengths. Now, the origins of this object are a little bit strange. I have a sort of an associate who passes on a lot of leads to me for objects like this, that I then, pursue at my own at my earliest sort of opportunity and at my availability. He has naturally decided to remain nameless and will do so. But he put me onto this one. This was an object that was handed into a thrift shop somewhere south of me. Where that is unimportant. Yeah, the Kalimba itself, I believe, was owned by an old lady. Sorry, let me rephrase. It was her husband's, but she is the person who gave it to the thrift shop. After her husband passed away, as far as the thrift shop owner knows, the husband never played. He had no musical talent whatsoever, but he happened to come to possess it. And yeah, I think the lady whose husband passed away, I think it was just too painful perhaps to hang on to. To the best of my knowledge, and the lady who ran the thrift shop, the widow hadn't noticed any negative effects from the object, so whether or not it just didn't affect her, or it's only recently taken on the properties that have caused it to sort of become a problem, is hard to say. So yeah, quite strange. Anyway, the continuing assessment. Right. Normally, just outside my room here is a rather large tree. This time of day, there's almost always birds losing their mind, but they're quiet today. But I imagine that's just a coincidence. I don't think that's related. So my thermometer here says that the room temperature is 20 degrees, which is totally normal, though I do feel cold. And I don't normally feel cold, and I am wearing a jumper, so that may be related to the object. It's hard to say. I don't notice any visual or auditory hallucinations. And no emotional content. I feel fine, unfazed by proximity to the object. For the purposes of being that this is a musical instrument and it has some auditory component, I have been wearing earplugs. I'm going to just remove them now, and we will see. Excuse me. Should any of the, well, I suppose firstly, if there's any effects from the audio of this, I will ensure that if it comes through the recording at all, if it is conveyed in any way, that this recording be muted, but I suspect it won't. Recordings of these things typically, I've never really noticed it having any effect in the past, so I think it should be fine. But rest assured, if you're going to continue listening, there should be no danger. So, I'm going to, with the headphones out, I'm going to pluck the tines now and see what we can see, or hear, I guess. Interesting. So, I can't comment much on the musicality of it. I don't know if it's in tune. I think it's a bit out. Can confirm it is in fact hollow. Yeah. So I still notice no or auditory or visual hallucinations as far as I can tell, provided the tone I'm hearing is the actual tone. There is emotional content now. After the first few times, I did start feeling a strange sense of dread, or yeah, it was the sense that something horrible is happening, or something horrible is coming, but I'm unsure of what it would be, and there's no visual or auditory sort of component to it. It's just this sense, which is not surprising. Dread is a lot of the objects I have in my collection sort of have that effect. It's normally with physical contact, though. It's not normally from audible content, but that's fine. Anyway, so the next part of the test is going to be physical contact. All right. So okay. Okay. So there was, sorry. Okay. So, well, first thing first. There is no abnormal temperature change as far as I can tell. There is also no visual or audio component still after having felt it. The emotional content again was unpleasant, but it was different. It wasn't the same dread. It was more anticipation or something like it. A sort of that sort of feeling when you're in a place that is unfamiliar to you, and you know you have to leave, but for whatever reason you haven't yet. It was that kind of sensation, which was distinct from what I felt on hearing the tines played. So yeah, interesting. Anyway, that should I think there's no particular danger to this object. It has that emotional content, but it's not overpowering or anything. It's just unpleasant. So this will go into storage with the rest of the collection, and yeah, it should be more or less safe. I think this is one of the safer objects I possess. Yeah. Anyway, so that will conclude this first episode, and hopefully this will bring some awareness to these objects and the fact that they needed to be treated with safety and care. That is the sort of, that and cataloging is the sort of intent for these videos, and hopefully I'll get to the rest of my collection at some point. It's probably pretty irresponsible not to, but I will get to it. All right. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.